Hello, hello, JMC Village. Thanks for joining us for another Speaking with the Village. As always, Josh Kent coming here with the Speaking with the Village. Our topic today will be parenting a stranger in your home. And who we got coming in with us is licensed mental health therapist, Miss Cornelia Thomas. She helps us consult with all our case management to support our children in our homes and our parents. She's always an amazing support for us. So I wanted to talk to her about this. So, hello.
Hello. Thank you, Josh.
Of course. So we're talking about parenting a stranger in your home. And I know the foster parents out there know this, but maybe some of these prospective foster parents don't know this. But whenever there's a new kiddo in the house, it tends to seem like there's that honeymoon. We call it the honeymoon period. That they're just doing great. They're listening to everything. They're kind of not quite showing the behaviors that you might have they've been reported to have or might have not seen. It can kind of last at a different range depending on the kiddo and their experiences. But then at one point it ends, and we start to see those behaviors they we're kind of warned about flare up. The behaviors that they have from trauma responses, start to come in. And I just, I was kind of curious what your insight was is why do we see those behaviors flare up? What kind of causes that honeymoon period to come to a halt?
Well, initially, first of all, I just want to say you're absolutely right about the honeymoon period. And I think sometimes what that will make us do is kind of relax and think, oh my gosh, this is great. This is going to be perfect. This is amazing. Right. And so then we're not prepared for the honeymoon period to end. Right. And so we go into foster parenting with an expectation that it's going to be a normal baseline, if you will, just a normal baseline parent-child relationship. But you're parenting a child that has parented themselves sometimes for over 5 years, right? They have not had any parental figures. And so they don't understand what that looks like. They don't understand that relationship. And they come into your home initially excited and happy to get away from whatever negativity or toxic lifestyle they lived. But then us as parents want to start parenting a person that's already parented or is parenting themselves. And unknowingly, we begin to take away their independence. Right. So then the testing begins and the behavior begins because we've taken away their independence, and they're going to fight for it because they've had it for the last 2 to 5 years. Right. And they don't want you to take it. So they're testing that, and that causes the behaviors. But then they're also testing your level of commitment. Mm-hmm. Right. Are you going to be another notch in my ladder of somebody who doesn't stick around? So now you went from honeymoon phase to double whammy of behaviors.
We say it's a journey, but it can really be a roller coaster in that sense of it seems everything's hunky-dory, and then it could seem really tough because of that lashing out and that wanting to regain control of what they feel like they're losing. They might feel like they're losing that independence or losing their ability to speak for themselves or make their own choices. Yeah. When in reality, we're just trying to guide their choices the right direction. And they don't really quite see it that way. So
they don't, Josh. And there's a hierarchy, right? In any village, systems, jobs, relationships, there's a hierarchy, right? In a marriage relationship, we really are like this, right? But in a parent-child relationship, it's parent-child, right? So when you, as a foster parent, bring in a new child and you want to begin parenting them, you automatically go to this parent-child relationship. You go to this hierarchy. Can't do that with a foster kid. You actually have to do this.
Bring them up to allow them to make their own decisions, and I think that's a really great thing that you've kind of talked to us about is, and talk to me for sure about is like making it, a side by side, like kind of like you're working with another parent. I'm like, how do how do I manage, how do I manage my kid when in reality they're speaking about themselves, how do they manage themselves, but they're the ones who've been doing it the whole time.
Here's a good example, Josh. Here's a good example. If you are a parent and you already have a child in your home, right? And as the parent, you already have established your boss. That happened yay high, right? So this hierarchy is established, right? And it's been established forever, right? You have a new kid come in. So let's say morning routine before going to school. Your child may know the law of the land that you have set down on what mornings look like for going to school. You bring in a foster kid and you want that foster child to have the same law of land on the way it looks getting ready for school in the morning. And this kid's like, I've been getting myself up for 5 years. What are you talking about?
I've always done it this way. Yeah.
Right. So with that kid, once again, you have to do this. You have to say, how do you like to be awoke in the morning? How do you like to be waked up in the morning? Right. How do you do breakfast in the morning? How can we negotiate this? You can still have 7:15. We walk out the door, but I need to know what it looks like from 6 a.m. to 7:15 for you. Right. And you can still have little things like, you brush your teeth in the bathroom. We don't walk around the whole house brushing, whatever it is, whatever little nuances you have to keep your home and the boundaries of your home is fine. They will love the idea or that you've given them the respect to come to them and say, what do mornings look like for you typically? And how can we blend your mornings, the way you've done it and the way we do it in this house together? Right.
Yeah, and that just seems like such a we're going at the highs and lows together rather than one person fighting for control and the other person also fighting for control, and then it is like I think it's steeper highs and lows and can be some tougher behaviors for sure.
Yeah. For sure, if you start saying this is how it's going to be, this is what the morning looks like, I need you to da 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 da, they're going to rebel. Heck, your kid's going to start rebelling when they're a teenager for the same thing.
Yeah, and that's why we need to recognize that thing too with a lot of these kiddos. It's like they're also still kids and they're also still teenagers in that sense of they're going to have some of those attitudes that go along, but it's going to come with some different experiences that led to that point. There might not have been, it might have been more of a fight to get those rather than the loving and nurturing that brought people to those decisions, that decision making. It might have been some tough situations they're dealt or having to show their own siblings rather than being shown by a parent or by a loving and nurturing source that's always there for support and stability.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when talking to these parents, what is something that you could kind of, give them a little bit of insight in how they might think about working their way up to that parenting role? Because eventually, depending on the age of the kiddo, you want to still have that parenting role that you can say, hey, I think this is really great to do, and give them that kind of, that coaching so that they could be their own adult. How do you work towards that parent role?
Yeah. Once again, it's that realizing the true nature of the circumstance that you're in. All relationships grow. We don't typically, not that it hasn't happened, meet somebody at a store and get married that night to that person, right? Relationships have to grow. Even your own relationship with your own children, you have children in the home, it grows. It goes from birth to being toddler to primary, and it's growing the entire time. It's growing. You're getting to know one another, right? You don't birth the child and then they're getting married in a week, right? There's growth. And so sometimes we forget that when we bring a child into the home, we want to automatically go to that parent-child hierarchy relationship. There's no room to grow. And so there's going to be lots of tension and a lot of fights because that child's going to have their expectations. You're going to have their expectations. You're taking away their independence. They're breaking your boundaries and the rules in your home. And it's just one huge roller coaster fight, like you were saying. I think it's really important to give that relationship an opportunity to grow into parent-child relationship. Yes, you are the foster parent, but if you can look at it as, hey, in the beginning, I'm just going to be auntie. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to be uncle, right? You just call me auntie, call me uncle, and I'm giving you a place of refuge, a place to stay. And we're going to negotiate rules because actually, if you have had your nephew coming to live with you for the summer, and let's say they're 13, 14, but they lived in Cali, and you worked it out with your brother or whoever's child it is they're going to come stay, you're probably going to talk to that kid and find out about them and what they like. What kind of food do you like? What do you eat? Where do you like to go? Do you like to sleep outside? You're going to ask them all these questions because you're going to want them to enjoy their time, and you're going to negotiate, and you're not going to treat them like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're still going to be like this and maybe a little bit more like this because you are auntie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing you need to do with the foster child. So maybe if you say, hey, I'm just going to be auntie, I'm going to be uncle for you. Hey, what do you like to eat? Are you vegetarian? What do you like? Do you like the outdoors, indoor? And you start talking and getting to know them on that level. It can eventually grow to parent-child level.
Yeah, I think that's, because like you said, it's like you're called the foster parent, and that just automatically triggers like, oh, I'm a parent, so I need a parent. So, it could, kind of trigger that feeling of, oh, I need to parent, I need to be at this spot, but kind of switching your own mindset, not just theirs too. It can be really beneficial for that nurturing and bringing that relationship into the parent-child dynamic where they trust you.
Yeah, Josh, it helps you reframe your mind. You know that if your brother's children are coming to stay with you and they're teenagers, that they have a way that they do things.
Mm-hmm.
They have things that they like and things that they don't like, things that they've done in their home that you don't do in your home,
mm-hmm.
right? That there's going to be differences, and you're willing to accept that because they're not your children.
Right.
Well, it's the same.
And asking them, well, how, I like asking, well, how can we kind of, merge them, give them the power to kind of determine their own path of seeing it? Because, with your own kiddos too, you kind of do that in a sense too. Okay, I've guarded you and given you these tools, and then I give you a little trust. Oh, if you kind of break that trust or break those expectations, we kind of need to bring it back and guard it. And you build up their own ability. They have, teenagers ask, can I be out till 11? Well, can I be out till 10? And you give them that kind of balance. And it's established through that trust and love that you've had their whole life. But when it's brand new and you just say no, well, then they're going to be like, well, where are you how are you to say no? Like, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm capable of doing. Even when you have your own kids at different expectations. And I think can be kind of a tough balance for your own kiddos and for the parent too, when you have kids already in your home that you've raised and you've been a part of. So how can, and that's kind of the last thing I was saying is, like, once you have a kiddo and then you bring a new kiddo, how do you kind of balance that dynamic or communicate to them, hey, this kid needs just a little, need some flexibility where you don't really, you've proven yourself.
Yeah. Well, I want to go backwards before we go forward real quick, because I like that question. It's a really good question, Josh. But I was thinking of another example about what we were talking about. So you have a kiddo, and let's say you have a teen, let's say he's 14, right? And you're foster parenting this kid. And of course, the rules are, in the house by 10 or in the house by 11 on the weekdays, and maybe it's 11:30 on the weekends. But this kid's been running the streets to 2, 3 a.m. in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you let him run the streets to 2, 3 a.m. in the morning? No. So what I would say when you're being a foster parent, once again, still reframe your expectations, change that hierarchy from parent-child to more nephew, niece, auntie, uncle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And negotiate. And anytime that you need to take, because these kids are really independent, you need to give. So, sorry, the rules in this house are you need to be in by 11. However, what's something that I can give to you? So this, I can't change this. This is one of my non-negotiables. What's something that you bring into the table that you want a little bit more freedom in, right? Does that make sense? Oh, you want to have access to your phone a little bit longer. Okay, that I can give. This I can't, negotiating, right? I understand that you've been asked 2 or 3. Here are the rules here. But I can bend here. I can be flexible here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they've had such take, in their lives too. They've been taken away from their homes. They might have lost, relationships with their other friends or other siblings and stuff. And they're just trying to regain control of some of those older things and older habits. And if you're not willing to to be flexible in that, you have to give them, some things they can take and they can build up.
And then once again, that makes them feel like you are not taking away the independence, right? And yes, they do need to be responsible for their behavior. So yes, if they do stay out past 11, have consequences. Take things away, right? But once again, communication and negotiation is really important with these foster kids, way more than you may do with your own kid, because you're the parent and I said no and it's no.
And you've already had those negotiations in the past. We've already talked about this. It's already happened. You can't just dismiss a foster child like that because it's not happening.
Right. And I think if you already have your own kids in the home and your own kids are wondering why there's so much more communication and flexibility and negotiation going on with this foster child that they didn't get, is making sure that you take the time to explain to your child, this kid doesn't have a parent. This kid has been parenting themselves all along, where you have had a parent forever, right? Since birth, you have had a parent. This kid has not had a parent. So I'm not parenting this kid. I'm co-parenting.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. When you get a foster child in the home, you are co-parenting with the foster child.
Like when a kiddo comes over for a sleepover, you're not going to, have that same, you're not going to speak with the same tone, speak with the same, expectations to that kid. Even spending the night with your friend, you might communicate them like, hey, we don't, drink juice on the couch, little things that kind of, and let them know, but you're not parenting them. And you can kind of, I think, reframe it into that another way too, whether it's.
And Josh, that's a great example, because that's what I was talking about. You said it just a few minutes ago. These kids have been take, right? So that's a good example. We don't drink red juice on the couch, but you can have water, you can have white grape juice, you can have, which one of these would you like to have? Instead of just no.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be plenty of times where it's going to have to be just no. So give as many options that you can when you have to take.
Yeah, because typically they don't have a choice on where they land and where they're placed. So giving them a choice as any other time too is going to be really powerful for them, and really a learning opportunity for you guys to learn together how you can collaborate and be the best, no longer strangers, in your home.
Yeah. And you also have to realize that they're in your home waiting for you to kick them out.
Yeah. That's what they've had.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Cornelia. That's so much good insight. And I mean, I know we could both talk about supporting kiddos for another 20 minutes and how to do that in a good way. But I just want to give you a chance. Is there anything that, there's prospective foster parents, current foster parents listening, tuning into this? Is there any kind of message that you would like to send to them about understanding this kiddo a little more, or helping?
Well, my main thing that in my practice, and I'm not telling people to come to me by any means, I'm full, but I do have quite a few clients that are foster parents, and they find this as a safe place to get the coaching, to talk about the things that may be taboo. This kid's driving me crazy. Having a safe place for you to go and get coaching and get ideas from somebody else is really, really a good idea. Do not isolate and do it all alone. And I know that they have groups. I'm not talking about groups or support groups. I'm actually talking about coaching, somewhere where you can go and say, this issue arose. What do you think? And someone that understands children, they understand trauma, they understand foster care. So they can go to those deeper levels with you on how to parent this child in your home. So have somebody in your back pocket that you can go to on a regular basis.
Yeah, it doesn't, we say it at JMC, it takes a village, and, we need those educated villagers, as well as the experiential villagers to really build up both sides of those abilities and that understanding. So
exactly.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for everyone tuning in to Speaking with the Village. And we'll catch you next time.